the power sector. Well, a lot is expected of that sector, and well, perhaps you could say so much has been said, while others say so little has been done in terms of what they can see. That's ultimately what they'll look out for anyway. Now we're joined by Sidon Adinuba, who is a special advisor to the Minister of Power. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
Okay, even though our Twitter fans were wondering, they were expecting the minister, but he said he had to be somewhere today.
Yes, at a wind power station, which is the biggest power station in Nigeria. He had wanted to come here himself. He's unable to make it because of these other assignments. He said his apologies, and next time he'll be here. He's been to China many times.
All right, but 6,000 megawatts. Is it 6,600 by year end? What's the targets this time?
Well, an additional 1,000. We're actually promising 6,000.
What do we have currently?
Well, what we have today is about 4,400, and that is the biggest quantum of power we have ever recorded in Nigeria's history. By the time he was appointed special advisor, it was hovering between 2,500 and 2,800 megawatts. In the last 1 year, in concert with the people in government, he's been able to bring it to 4,400. We got 4,400 on this second Saturday of January. In the meantime, we had a record power generation until the 4th December, on the eve of Christmas. So we were able to increase it again.
Okay, but the 6,000 megawatts target by year end is in terms of generation.
Generation.
What is it going to do about distribution? Because we have a lot of leakages already, and there's a lot of challenge in that sector, because the last stakeholders conference that was held was not too happy with what he heard from the distributors.
No. Well, the problem is not really just distribution, even transmission.
Yeah, at least for a start.
Don't forget that in August 2010, the country for the first time generated 3,800 megawatts, but it did not last beyond 2 minutes. The entire system collapsed. Why? The transmission infrastructure was too old, too dilapidated, and too poorly managed to wield this quantum of power. But today, the same system is able to wield 4,400. In other words, we've done some fixing in the last 2 years.
When you say fixing, is it because the transmission infrastructure has been for as long as electricity has been in the country?
Absolutely.
Now, when you say fixing, is it a whole new structure, or you're just repairing one thing or the other?
Well, in some areas, repairs. In some areas, rehabilitation.
And that was able to carry 4,400. 400.
It can take more.
It can take more.
Yes.
Okay. Now we're looking at 6,600
by the way, let me also add this. We actually promised the nation 5,000 megawatts by the end of December last year. By the end of December, we had a capacity to produce 5,500. That is to say, 500 megawatts in excess of our
capacity.
pledge.
Did you produce it?
That's what I was coming to. We have problems with gas issues. If you give me gas this morning, in the next 24 hours, I will give you 5,500 megawatts.
If you still have issues with gas supply, that's so much so that you cannot meet up with the promise of 5,500, have the issues with gas supply be taken care of? Because recently it was in the reports, in media reports, that there were issues with gas supply to certain power stations. Has that been taken care of?
No. It's not an issue you can solve overnight. We are addressing the issues one by one. Last Friday, for instance, the Minister of Power and the Minister of Petroleum Resources held a joint retreat at Hilton Hotel in Abuja. And a 17-man committee was set up comprising officials of both ministries and, of course, parastatals under them, like the NNPC, to bring out long-term, medium-term and short-term measures that will be taken to address the issues of gas supply. We are looking at addressing these issues in the most comprehensive and fundamental manner. In the next 1 week, you get the report and I'll brief you.
So is that supposed to be a permanent solution to that?
Well, the first stage is something, this is a historical problem. It's something we inherited over the years, and we have to solve it one by one.
How many stages do they anticipate?
Well, it's not in terms of measuring numbers, but
no. To get a permanent solution to the gas challenge that we have.
Well, some permanent steps have been taken. As we are talking, for example, we have problems with Olorunshogo power station that can actually give the nation about 1,000 megawatts. Both stations, Olorunshogo 1 and 2, combined are producing less than 150. Why? You don't have gas. You have issues like gas, low gas pressure. Of course, as we're talking, we have permanent pipelines that are being laid. They are currently at Shagamu, going towards Olorunshogo. Olorunshogo is almost it's true from Shagamu. So by the end of March, we expect there will be a permanent solution. In other words, we have permanent gas pipelines.
Let me ask you this question. What's the point in generating all of this 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 megawatts if the end users don't get them?
Well, actually, they are getting them.
How are they getting them when they're still running? There's the number of generators running appears to be increasing on a daily basis.
Not quite so. Not quite so. Let me say this. We have greater power supply across the nation more than at any other point in our own history. This is a fact. We have improved supply in most parts of the country, but we are not satisfied with what we have. What we are generating and supplying to the national grid is 4,400. Is actually 10% about that of what we project to have by the year 2020. By the year 2020, Nigeria hopes to be one of the 20 biggest economies in the world. The 20 biggest economy in the world today is South Africa. South Africa is generating 40,000 megawatts. Its population is 47 million. Nigeria's population is 167 million. In other words, South Africa's population is about 1/3 of our population.
And then
they generate 40,000
megawatts
to
sustain us.
I'm happy you're making this point. South Africa's 40,000 megawatts is not even enough. Since the year 2008, South Africa has been experiencing power outages. In other words, their 40,000 megawatts is not enough for them. 40,000 may not even be enough for us.
But if by 2012, we're promising 6,000 megawatts by year end, and at the moment, in terms of transmission, they can, even if they get that 6,000 megawatts by year end, the transmission, it can only be, there's only about 85% capacity for transmission.
No. We are actually addressing the transmission problem in the way no administration before us has done. We are proud of this record. Not only are we rehabilitating and repairing, there is a new system we're introducing that you have only in very few countries of the world. The president has given us permission to build what we call super grid. Super grid will increase the capacity of transmission infrastructure.
How long would it take before it comes on?
No, I'm coming to 765 kV. Very few countries in the world have this system. Nigeria will be one of the first. We're proud of this record.
Do you write exams and grade yourself?
Well, there are certain things you know very well. There's sometimes you write an exam, you are supremely confident you're going to make an A1.
Because that question is the question is very important in the light of how Nigerians still feel about the electricity supply. And a host of them have been sending their comments here on Twitter. We are yet to fully reap the benefits of all that you have been done. It seems that what has been going on is plenty of background work in terms of trying to improve generation, which is yet to be transmitted into distribution. And we should ask a question. What exactly is going on with the NIPPs, the independent power projects? Are they stalled for now, or is it that they have been abandoned? Because we understand that there are over 400 of them across the country, and that it seems that they're just not doing anything as of now.
No. There are two issues I would like to confuse with. Let's not confuse these two issues. NIPP differ from IPPs.
Okay.
NIPP is a federal government project.
Okay.
Although initiated under Obasanjo, National Integrated Power Project. We can call it an intervention measure to address the power problem.
Have they been
Then you have the independent power producers made up of private sector power producing companies. Each is doing its own bits. You are working in a system that has all along not been very, very conducive. But these issues have been addressed one by one. They are doing very well. NIPP on the whole is scheduled to supply about 4,700 megawatts of power. And it's going on very, very well. There have been hitches here and there, sometimes not of their own making. For example, we have problems with Aloji power station in Abia State. It ought to have come on strain, but there are issues like gas.
No, but there's a major problem with
Aloji. About IPPs. They're coming up. Geometric, which is the first independent power producer in this country, will begin commercial operations, I am told, by the third quarter of this year. So you have different companies.
That's the IPP. The NIPPs is my focus here.
Yeah.
What exactly is going on with them? I mean, there are reports in different communities about how there are transformers that are yet to be energized. They've been sitting there now for over a year, and people are just staring at them with, bearing in mind that they do not have electricity.
As I've explained to you, NIPP is not just one thing you have. It's scattered across the country, especially in generation and also in transmission, sometimes in distribution. Even in my hometown of here in Anambra State, the project is going on there. You have NIPP Sapele is working.
You're sure they haven't been abandoned?
No, I'm talking about my hometown. No,
I'm talking about over 400
They have about 2,000 projects across the country. They are at various stages of completion. These things cannot be done overnight. Let me give you an example with South Africa. Eskom is one of the most efficient companies in the world. It is their own PSN in South Africa. Since 2008, when South Africa began to experience power outages, Eskom has been trying to add some quantum of power to what South Africa has consumed. Since 2008, they have not added even 1 megawatt. And they will not until 2014.
In other words,
power is not something you buy off the shelf. It takes a long process and it's capital intensive. We are on the road. We are making tremendous
progress. When do we hope to finish this over 2,000? Since you've told us about 2,000 of them, when do we hope to finish? What was the mandate? What was the time frame that they were given? And when do we hope to finish them?
Well, you know very well.
Because at least you can tell when Eskom will generate at least 1 single megawatt. When will we be able to finish the NIPPs and say when they will be, energized and come on stream?
They are at various stages of completion. It's unfortunate that there was a policy of a previous government that caused a delay of a whole 2 years. Under President Yar'Adua, may God bless his soul, it was told for 2 years. You and I know about the power probe, which channels showed on television and so on and so forth. During this period, for 2 years, nothing was granted. So, under Jonathan, it was resumed.
Okay.
So it's going on. We lost 2 years. And when you lose 2 years in a project, you know what that means.
Igni Power Station.
Yes.
Over 35 years or thereabouts.
Commissioned in 1986.
If something goes wrong with it, as it did the last time, the country will lose 1,080 megawatts.
Yeah, about a quarter of what it produces now.
And then, those who work there say it's been poorly maintained over the years. And at the moment, that's because of the biomineralization plants, which they say has been poorly maintained. What has this sector done now, recently, about that power plant?
Well, it's not true for anybody to say that it has not been doing very well. It's been working.
No, it has been poorly maintained over the years.
No.
That's what they say.
No,
those who are working there.
No. Whoever told you that clearly is not telling the truth.
Why was it shut down? Why was it shut down the last time?
I'm coming. It's well maintained. As
over
we're
the
talking,
years, it's well maintained?
Yeah, I would like to run down the people who were there before me because I would like to take the glory. Ebwin has been doing very, very well. It has been blessed with very efficient CEOs. People like Semi and Atakolo, a first-class engineer anywhere in the world. Now, the capacity for Ibun is 1320, that's 1,320 megawatts. As we are talking, it's producing in excess of 900. That means 80%. If he's doing 80%, commissioned 1986, that means he's doing well. As we are talking, the Honorable Minister is there. The current CEO, Engineer Michael Z, is a first-class engineer. It's so well run that when you go to Ibun, you will actually think you're in a hotel.
Why did the hydro plant fail the last time?
Hydro? No, I'm coming to it one by one. The fact that it does 80%, which is very good by any standard in the world, does not mean it produces, it runs at 100%. No. It does have problems from time to time. One of the major problems, apart from age, has to do with the fact that some parts,
the hydro
nuclear, no, let me come. They have nuclear components. And because they have nuclear components, you cannot just go anywhere and have them. So there were issues. Once something nuclear is involved, the international community gets involved.
What we have on record from those who work there, and it's in print publications as far back, it wasn't even that, December 16, 2011, all over the papers. Those who worked there said it, that the hydro component failed because it had not been properly maintained.
No, I have explained, me and I said the same thing.
So in other words,
you see the statements, so it's a situation I know very well. Immediately had a problem. The minister summoned the CEO. The CEO had to come all the way by road all night, had to drive all night to be able, because the minister was alarmed. He produced about a quarter of what the country consumes. So it is extremely important to us. The problem has to do, as I've explained to you, old age and the fact that some of his parts are very sensitive. They have nuclear parts. These are some of the major issues. Because there were other issues. Getting the original manufacturer to business has not been easy. It was done by Hitachi of Japan, but they had to do with Hitachi of the UK. So solving this problem, paying, of course, you know the problem of Nigerian budgeting. The National Assembly will remove this amount of money. So
is it not routine that when parts are getting old, we should have parts, spare parts already made, so that you already know the lifespan of a part, and you already know that by this time we hope to change it. That's part of maintenance, routine maintenance as it were, especially when we know that there are sensitive parts involved. Why did we have to wait for it to finally pack up before we started making the orders? And then we had issues because there were nuclear parts involved, and then the IAEA must be called, and all of this, as far as Nigerians are concerned, are excuses for what ordinarily should just be a matter of routine.
Well, you and I know very well that we do have issues with maintenance culture in Nigeria, not just in the power sector. These are historical problems. The problem inherited, and it's been there over the decades. We recognize all these, and we are trying to put in place a system that will address these issues if you choose in a proactive manner.
Question now is, are you still trying to put in place a system? You're still trying, so the system is not there. How do you expect to make a difference in the area of power generation?
Oh, no. Professor Naj was sworn in on July 13th last year. That's how many months ago?
I was going to ask you.
It's expecting with this period, even if you were a magician, to
in that area of power generation and distribution, Nigeria is known to have an energy loss of between 30 to 35% between generation and billing, from generation to billing. Now, if you generated about 4,400 megawatts by your last count,
yes,
what's the guarantee that these things have been plugged? You lose between 30 to 35,000.
It's actually 40%.
That's 40%. That's what you lose.
And commercial losses.
Okay. Yes. And then your collection rate, you have a collection rate of 75 to 80%. These are all leakages.
Oh, yeah.
Are all these ones taken care of, and then as you move towards your 6,000 megawatts?
Oh, of course. If you look at the general profile, we've been increasing. There are a lot of people, you and I know very well, who do not pay for one reason or another. There are a lot of people who connect illegally in places like Ajagula and so on and so forth. There are a lot of welders who do not pay. When you leave, they do all that. They connect and reconnect. Of course, we know some frauds on the part of some PHN officials. We recognize all this, and we are addressing this one by one. As a result, residential generation has been increasing steadily since Professor Najib became the minister.
Well,
it's been increasing.
It's amazing.
But it hasn't got to 100%.
All right, it's amazing you say you recognize eventually that we've got a problem with maintenance culture.
Nobody can deny that.
But
you and I live in this country.
But when we talked about the Egbin power plant, you said they had been maintained perfectly.
No, I didn't say perfect. I said 80%.
Okay.
Not 100%.
That's near perfect.
All right.
Well, 80%, I say it's impressive, at least compared with other power stations.
Okay.
It will remain the best maintained.
What's the projection?
Achieving 80%.
What's the projection?
What you want is 100%, not 80.
For this 6,000 megawatts target by year end,
Yeah.
what's the projection that the transmission companies gave to meet up with transmission of this 6,000 megawatts? Could you bring us up to speed on that?
Oh yeah, no, they are capable. Even if we produce
what was
5,000.
their projections for transmission? Not generation now. You talked about your target to generate. Tell us about the projections that they gave at that stakeholders forum for the 6,000 megawatts.
Well, we have a very capable person, the CEO.
Yeah, what's the
Transmission Company of Nigeria, Engineer Akinbada. I may not have the figures right now, but the essential thing is that whatever we produce right now, I can wheel from the area of production to the area of need. The team is doing very well and have done a lot of things since Akinbada was appointed in July, the CEO of the Transmission Company of Nigeria.
Because I would have thought that since you, of course, generation, transmission, and distribution.
Yeah.
So if you're targeting 6,000 megawatts to be generated by year end, you should have also taken a look at your transmission projections and distribution projections.
I've explained to you.
And if there's a shortfall,
whatever we produce today, we have the capacity to wheel, to transport it. In other words, the transmission infrastructure is capable of wheeling the quantum of power, even if it's 6,000.
When you say capable, 100%?
100%.
100%.
100% plus, if there isn't anything like that.
But you don't have the breakdown right now.
No, you don't need any kind of breakdown. They have worked, they have addressed a lot of issues. A lot of power transformers are being installed all across the country.
No, but it's not about the transformers, because
no. Power transformers. Power transformers. They have to do with transmission.
There's always been a challenge, a major challenge with transmission and distribution. The last Minister of Power, of course, he was there several times, and he talked about at the time they were working so much on the capacity to evacuate, even if you generate and you can't, because the last time we're told that some of those failed was because when it was generated, they decided to fire everything at that time, and then you had the breakdown. And so if we don't have those projections now, how do we measure, or how confident are you then that you'll be able to get to the end user?
I've explained to you that in August 2010, the country produced 3,800 megawatts, but the transmission infrastructure could not wheel it. Today we are producing 4,400 megawatts, and it's wheeling it effortlessly. That shows continuous improvement in the capacity of the transmission infrastructure.
What's the status
and we have continued, and I've explained to you that we are actually leapfrogging.
What are you doing about rural electrification?
I'm coming. I will explain to you. I'll come to that. Not just improving in a gradual
We're losing time, so we'd like you to address it before.
We have a super grid, which means more than doubling the capacity.
For the rural?
That means, no. Transmission. About Rural Electrification Agency, the Electric Power Sector Reform Act of 2005 created Rural Electrification Agency. There was a reported fraud 3 years ago, maybe between 5 and 6 billion naira, that made the government act in a way that's understandable but not right.
What was
REA, Rural Electrification Agency, became more or less suspended. It was put in abeyance. We came into power. We said this is not right. This is the creation of the law. And beyond that, there are 2,000 communities in Nigeria without electricity. And also, there are 1,970 ongoing projects for rural electrification that have been abandoned as a result of this problem. And there is a debt of 3.2 billion to contractors. We felt there is a critical need to conform to the law. Therefore, the REA has to be revived. So in place of a sole administrator we inherited, we now have a managing director. The board will soon be appointed. to ensure that at least 2,000 communities have electricity. Electricity is the right of the Nigerian people. To ensure that the contractors owe 3.2 billion naira receive their money. To ensure the completion of 1,970 ongoing projects that have been abandoned, even though they are at various stages of completion.
What's the status of Alaoji power plant?
Well, we hope to have 2 units, each of them producing 150 megawatts before the end of the year. That's our prediction. The contractor Roxin, we have compared it to work very hard. We've driven Roxin to the limits.
Is it part of your projection for 6,000 megawatts?
Absolutely, it is. We have it there, and of course, have the gas issues that have been addressed. Incidentally, this evening we have a meeting with the management of LNG that is helping us with gas in that area, even though it's not their primary responsibility.
But as we speak,
both Shell and Total are involved to ensure that we have gas supply to Alaoji anytime from now.
But as we speak, Alaoji cannot generate.
I will say later in the year. I've told you we had a conference on Friday.
No, I know
it's one of the issues
but as we
addressed.
Speak, for information purpose, as we speak,
it's not yet producing, but we are expecting 2 units, 150 megawatts each, before the end of the year. It will definitely work before the end of the year.
What is
it's an assurance.
This is away from electricity generation and distribution now to manpower. What is the relationship of the Ministry of Power with PHCN workers as it stands currently?
Well, a meeting was held yesterday to address the issues. Let me tell you this, and I'm very proud to announce this, that more than any administration, this government addressed the issues of human resources and their welfare in the power sector. The very first memo Professor Nnaji wrote to the president, even before he became special advisor to the president, was on the need to pay PSM workers their monetized benefits that were denied them for a whole 7 years. In 2003, the federal government introduced the policy of paying workers monetized benefits. All public sector workers were paid except PSM workers for reasons I do not know.
Well, they have said that, definitely with this privatization, a host of them will most likely lose their jobs, but they are afraid that, they will not get the benefits that should accrue to them. They're taking a cue from NITO, former Nigeria Airways, and they're wondering if truly that's the plan of the government to let them off without giving them their benefits.
Well, no, you and I know better than that. If it's not true, why would you like to pay them their benifits?
You and
I? I've explained to them.
I do not know better than that. They'll be going by precedent.
No. I will give you 3-4 comprehensive measures I've taken to address the welfare and the future of PSM workers. We do not like them to go the way of Nigeria Airways and NITO staff. 1, payment of monetized benefits, 57 billion naira. Professor Nnaji succeeded getting the president to go to the National Assembly and including the supplementary budget. Over 99% of the staff have got theirs for the first time in 7 years.
So you're saying that...
I've not finished. Number 2, they will continue even when they have new owners. There will be a contract, they will remain, and most of them will be inherited.
But they do not want to be inherited. A host of them are saying that we had our agreement with the Power Holding Company of Nigeria, or NEPA as it were, which is now Power Holding Company of Nigeria. If you want to let us go, and then we can renegotiate our contracts with these new companies that are coming in.
No, that is exactly what is going on. That's it. So there is no disagreement on that.
So what exactly is the apprehension?
It's normal for human beings to be afraid of change. And when you look at what happened in Nigeria and Nigeria, it's for them to feel that way. We have taken measures to ensure they do not feel that way. What are these measures? I was here a month ago and I tried to point out the incongruity in the position of some of the trade unionists. They said they wanted liberalization and not privatization. By that, what they wanted was, let government-owned companies compete with private sector companies. I told them, no, I'm sorry, it cannot work. Nigeria Airways could not compete with private sector operators in the aviation industry. As a result, it collapsed. I wouldn't like you to collapse and be without jobs, without salaries. United staff could not compete with MTN. Therefore, they don't have jobs anymore. We don't want that. So the best thing is we allow you to get privatized, you get inherited by the new owners. In any case, the new owners cannot manufacture workers from the outer space.
What happened to the super grid that was started in 2010?
The
super grid that was promised in 2010 by the federal government?
No. In 2010, that's when Professor Naji became the advisor to the president.
What happened to the super grid? Have we started the construction of the super grid?
No, you don't construct like that. I'll explain. What do? Wrote a memo the president approves and said, okay, you can go ahead with the super grid. What do you do after that? You do feasibility studies, and of course, followed with you publish, asking for bids, and people are making presentations.
Have the feasibility studies been done?
Of course.
Have they been published?
Not they were studying the feasibility study.
Okay, you do feasibility study, then you now study the feasibility study, and probably set up a committee to
get reports from consultants. You don't want to act arbitrarily. Okay. Up to 2 weeks ago, we had a group that came from China with their Nigerian counterparts. As I'm talking to you this morning, we have a meeting from a group from California.
All right, could you squeeze this in? Well, we got this question from Jide. He says, Governor Mechi and Akpabio have built power plants but can't distribute because of restrictions by federal government. Why is that?
No, we have had is the law, but that law is being changed. Incidentally, if you have
changed how?
I'm
specifically
coming. First of all, you have the new act, but even the new act, the interpretation is another challenge.
What provisions?
I'm coming. If you add the same governors, both Akpabio and Amechi, right now, I tell you they are satisfied with the new deal that just reached some 2 weeks ago.
What provisions
with the federal
restricting them? Could you tell us about that?
First of all, don't forget that the question of power generation, transmission, and distribution was a monopoly. Only the federal government of Nigeria have the power. We are breaking this monopoly. So right now, both governors are satisfied with the new deal we reached 2 weeks ago. State governments can now build, generate, domicile everything in the area. They cannot do that.